We're going to go to in-depth weekly astrology overview for week commencing the 13th of July for the ascendant, the sun, or the moon. Going to share the big themes of the week ahead first. On screen is your event chart. As we go into the week, I'll unpack that too. I'll then go through each of the influences in detail. By the end of the video, you'll have a clear picture of what's upcoming in terms of your vitality, work, relationships, and finances. Thank you so much for joining me, astrologer Patrick Arundell. If you've yet to subscribe to my channel, please do so now to help it to continue to thrive. It's a week which begins with a Mercury cazimi. Mercury is your ruling planet. Gives you that eye for detail, but also a crisp appreciation of analysis. But it is in a conjunction with the sun in the friendliest part of your chart, but hosted by the more intuitive Cancer. What does that mean for you with Mercury in a retrograde? But also, as we step into this week, Venus, newly arrived in your zodiac sign, encouraging you perhaps to give your personal appearance a bit of a makeover or take the initiative when it comes to your love life. That's in a tense right angle with the disruptive energies of Uranus, and that goes on through to Thursday. I'm going to unpack that too for you. Now, Tuesday is the new moon. And it's a new moon where we can celebrate all the good energy of Cancer, which can be very much to do with a gentle warmth and protectiveness. But for you, it's in the part of your chart to do with your friendships, your group activities, your network, but also your longer term plan. So the Cancer vibe is asking you to be in touch with your feelings around those areas. But by the end of the week, Virgo, there's a stunning pair of two influences, which are very important for you in terms of your career and your connection to the world. And I can't wait to tell you about them. So on the screen now is your event chart. So let's look at the role of your ruler, Mercury. So it's been in retrograde in the 11th house, so there may have been some miscommunication with friendships, last minute changes of plan. We know that Mercury can cause snags and last minute glitches. But in the 11th house, maybe it's been you rethinking what you want from your future. And that's not a bad thing. Mercury retrogrades have quite the reputation, but they can be an asset. So the fact the sun merges with Mercury, the fourth cazimi of the year, helps you to use the sun's radiance to really cut through some of the uncertainty or rethinking you've been doing and perhaps move forwards in a more dynamic way. But when it comes to Venus's square with Uranus, well, that can play out in a number of ways. If you're in a long-term relationship, maybe if it has become a little bit too predictable, it's an opportunity to try to freshen things up. If you're single, you could meet someone through your work, but it could happen very, very quickly. But equally, if you're not enjoying a relationship and you don't see it as being part of your long-term plan, it could be a deal breaker, to be honest. But what we do have on Tuesday is that new moon. And for me, it's one of the most important new moons of the year because of the moon's rulership of the sign of Cancer. So from a sun perspective, it's Leo, but from the moon perspective, very much Cancer. And it is asking you, because Mercury is still very close to the new moon, to think, but also feel about what your long-term future should be, but also who you really want to network with. But the 11th house can also be about our higher purpose. And if you're doing things at the moment which don't really allow you to be in touch with that, it could be time for a fundamental rethink. But that brings us to the end of the week, Virgo, because you can see that Uranus is the most prominent player in the event chart, and therefore being the most northerly planet, bound to be significant. So Uranus over the next 7 years is asking you to think about your connection to the world and perhaps be open to change. But Uranus can also be about innovation. So if you're someone with brilliant ideas, these can really show up as this week draws to a close, because Pluto, the planet very much to do with evolution, is in the part of your chart to do with routines, work, fitness, diet. and that link to Uranus becomes exact. Now, we're going to have 5 of them over the next couple of years, and these are big moments for us all collectively. But for you who does like and appreciates knowing where you stand, doing things in a very routine way, it could push you to think outside the proverbial box, but it can, if you embrace it, also be very exciting. Now, Mars, the planet of drive and passion and assertion, moves forwards and by the end of the week comes into a very helpful sextile to Saturn. Now, Saturn and Neptune could ask some questions over the next couple of years, in the case of Saturn, about intimacy and long-term finances. But you get a great chance to balance thrust, assertion, and confidence with good exacting planning, which is what you have a gift for. So the end of this week could see you take some really big and powerful steps forwards towards a different type of future if you choose to go for it. I'm going to summarize those 4 areas of vitality, work, relationships, and finances next, Virgo. Just before I do, I've slashed the price of my personal horoscope reports. It's now 3 for the price of 1, but you can also on the forecast get now to the end of 2027. So the rest of this year free and all of 27. You'll also get your life roadmap report, which helps us to understand the patterns in our lives, but also your draconic soul karmic analysis. Please see below for more. I've recorded a video for your second half of the year overview, and I've gone into a lot of detail, taking the midpoint of the calendar year, taking a snapshot of that event chart, taking you back to the solar return on the 1st of January, looked at the Aquarius solar eclipse and the Leo upcoming one, the shift of the nodes, but also the lunar eclipse at the end of August and Mercury's retrograde in Scorpio in October. Please click on the eye on the screen and you can check that out. Also, the link will be under this video. Now, if you'd like to work with me one-to-one, it'd be an absolute pleasure. Or if you'd like to sign up for your free daily written horoscope, please see below for both of those options. So to summarize, as far as your energy is concerned, energy can be about the first house, it can be about the sixth house. I think the sixth house is where we make the decisions so we can refine our approach. And that link to Pluto and Uranus is really exciting. So if you're doing things that you feel very optimistic about in terms of that long-term future, you'll overcome that Mercury retrograde, no problem at all. So I think your physical energy, if you're enjoying your work or your worldly interaction, can be great. I also feel that it can be a very friendly week for you. If someone you thought wasn't as in touch as you are usually used to, maybe in your friendship group, I feel that they can be now, or perhaps you're going to feel more inclined to be in touch with them. Romantically, however, this could be a bit of a choppy week. It just depends whether you're aligned to someone who is part of that plan or not. If you're single, however, as I mentioned, it could be through your work situation that you encounter someone very fresh, different, perhaps challenging, but almost impossible to ignore. When it comes to long-term finances, the 2 planets of fortune, Jupiter and Venus, are actually in a semi-sextile at the start of this week. And Jupiter is also linking to Neptune in the 8th house of shared finances. I think it just depends on your exact circumstances. I think Saturn in the 8th house is asking you to be a bit conservative on the whole about shared resources. But when it comes to your romantic situation, I think if you're lucky enough to be active in a group environment or you're taking up a new interest, that's going to connect you to people a lot more speedily. And if you do have a connection, it can happen very, very quickly indeed. However, in a relationship that's ongoing, it is important to try and keep it fresh. And that falls to both partners to come up with different ways to do that. It's been a pleasure being with you, Virgo. Have a great week. All the best.